Hello,
Hello,
everybody.
everybody. Welcome.
Welcome to another edition of Let's Talk About Cuba with your beautiful hostess, Iskra Perez, and your faithful host here, Riquet Caballero, Cuban libertarian. And
Hello,
so,
my friend. How are you?
I am great, Iskra. Just came back from the gym, making some gains.
Yeah,
How are you feeling today?
you're pumping up, huh?
Yes, yes. You look very nice. I love that color on you. That's my
Oh,
favorite color.
thank
You can see my glasses.
you. So we have we have a spectacular night prepared for our friends tonight. I mean, my goodness. It's just full of celebrities and good friends that are coming back to say hello to us. I can't wait. But in addition to that, I think we have other good friends that are going to be joining us. So I don't know if you have anything else to add to this. If you have an introduction for them, or I don't think they need an introduction, honestly. You're muted.
Right. I don't think they do either. I may want to play the Luis Manuel Otero Alcantara video that
Okay.
has the subtitles.
Oh, good.
So going to go ahead and do that, and then we can just bring our
Adam,
guests in. So
wonderful.
one moment, please, as I make my screen. What is going on? Right. I have the night light on, so it's kind of orangey. All right. Let me share, guys. Here we go. Boom. Share audio. Nice and big. Here we go.
A todos. Luis Manuel de la Alcántara, artista contemporáneo y activista por los derechos humanos. Como seguro ustedes saben, Cuba administra el país, dirige el país, una dictadura que tiene más ya de 60 años, tiene 62 años. Yo como artista me he visto perseguido, me he visto secuestrado, me he visto con mi familia, he estado detenido más de 40 ocasiones en 2 años, sin ningún tipo de justificación. Tengo una cámara fuera de mi casa. Mi arte es categorizado de terrorismo en Cuba por el simple hecho de que mi arte representa la miseria y la pobreza y todos los abusos que el régimen no quiere enseñar al mundo. Se quieren vender como una sociedad perfecta, posiblemente con los mismos efectos que existen en todas las naciones. Sopesado y emplazado porque vivimos una dictadura y no podemos hablar de eso. Los estoy convocando, por favor, a apoyarnos. Yo soy coordinador principal del Movimiento San Isidro, un movimiento formado por artistas, activistas, gestores culturales, periodistas independientes y todo aquel que se sienta parte de lo independiente en Cuba. Estamos apoyando espacios democráticos, espacios de libre diálogo, espacios donde el cubano se sienta libre, que en otros espacios dentro del régimen no pasa. Y todo eso nos cuesta a nosotros represión, prisión, persecución, abuso, cultura psicológica y demás. Estamos convocando, por favor, que nos apoyen, estamos, por favor, que vigilen nuestras experiencias, que sean capaces de exigirle al gobierno cubano desde la diplomacia que cese toda esa violencia hacia nosotros. Estamos conectados, por favor.
Wow.
Alrighty. So let's go ahead and bring in our guests. Wouldn't you say?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Hello, ladies. Hello, Nelson.
Hello, hello. Welcome, welcome.
Thank you for joining us.
Hello.
Hi, how are you?
Thank you for joining us again. It's so good to see you girls again.
Good to see you too. It's really nice to see you too. Always looking good.
Thank you. I try.
Hi, Riquet. How are you?
Ladies, pleasure to see you again. Hello, Nelson.
Good to see you
Mostly
too.
cold in Canada right
Hola,
now,
hello.
I bet.
Yes.
Yep. That's the way it is.
Nelson, I don't believe we've ever met before. It's a pleasure to meet you. My name
Very
is
nice
Iskra.
meeting you too.
It's a pleasure.
It's a
So
Basque name, right?
it's a Russian name, actually,
Oh,
and
okay.
it translates to spark in English, chispa en
Yeah.
español. It was the first newspaper that Lenin wrote, and my grandmother gave it to me because I was born in 1971. There was a lot of Russian influence in that time
Oh, yes.
in
Yes,
our
I know.
country, as you well know.
I know very well.
So there's this new development that you girls got involved in. You continue to get involved. Once you do something, it's just impossible not to continue on with this fight. And believe me, I know. I started with one march, and here I am 2 years later, and I'm still talking about this. Today, actually, I went on to Eliezer to let everybody know that you were going to be on our show. And he's like, "Aren't you sick? Aren't you supposed to be recovering?" I'm like, "Yeah, but I'm not going to stop." I can't stop talking about,
It's hard to stop.
what is wrong and what is not happening, and why this needs to stop in our country. So you talk to us about what you're doing, what this new movement is, and why it's so important.
Well, Nelson, do you want to start? Because they know a little bit about us, but do you want to introduce yourself and then just get all acquainted?
Okay. Yes, I have been with the Cuban Canadian Foundation for about 15 years. And I lived in Ottawa for 2 years, since 2006 to 2008. I tried to influence foreign policy towards Cuba at the federal level. And I managed to make some connections through friends, because Ottawa is a small city. And once you get to know someone, it's easier to get to know everyone. And with friends from the Jewish community, I managed to get access to very high levels of the government. Eventually, I came back to Toronto. I noticed that the problem in Canada is much more difficult than just trying to lobby a little bit here and a little bit there. It's very complicated. It's a psychological issue. It's a social issue. It's there are many many sides to the story, of the relationship between Canada and Cuba. And then I came across the group that is trying to do the same thing back again, but with a new, fresh blood and totally different approach.
Yes, which
And
we do.
I got very excited. I got very excited because I noticed that they are really serious. And once I saw that they are really committed, I said, wow, I got really impressed.
Yes.
And then I tried to do my best, and here I am after a few years of a little bit of inaction.
Wonderful. Well, good for you. Yeah, and I understand about being in a small city like Iowa and being able to. I had the same thing. So I'm in South Carolina, and I have direct access to our senators here, and I've been able to get So it's easier when you are in a small state like ours. But again, when you're in Canada, it's a different ball game, and I understand. But and I think my state here, we still have the Republican influence, but slowly, it's I think this whole democratic influence is it's turning, and it's migrating, and it's migrating everywhere. It's not just it's a populist populist movement. Honestly, I see it as a populist movement. It's global. I just don't see it as on a local level anymore. Unfortunately, this is local. This is global. But let's talk about Cuba, ladies.
Well, the main situation that we have right now as Cuban Canadians is to try to make the Canadian government understand and recognize the Cuban dictatorship, because the situation is very serious. Like, when you think about it, Cuba has an embargo from the United States, which means that there are laws, and it is way harder for the Americans or for the American people and government to make relationships with Cuba. But that is the complete opposite with Canada, which means that the amount of money that the government, the Cuban dictatorship gets, it is just incredible, and we're trying to do our part,
Right.
as Cuban Canadians. I have a friend that calls us Cubanadians. As Cubanadians.
That's a good one. Well,
Yeah, to stop the hypocrisy that the Canadian government has, because it's plain and simple. It's a huge hypocrisy that they turn around. They understand the
Right.
situation that we live in. They understand that dealing with the government is actually difficult. So we met with the director of Cuban Affairs and not Foreign Affairs,
but the area of Cuba.
Okay.
and the Latin America. So he attends the Latin America and Cuba, Caribbean countries. And the first thing when we talked, he was very nice. He was very
Canadian.
Okay.
But the first thing he said,
very politically correct, basically. Okay.
but what it was incredible how the first thing he said to us, even without letting us speak, was that the situation is complicated because Cuba and Canada have many business and the tourism and that and that is exactly the point. Like, you are putting the money and the business and the tourism and your people before our people that are suffering, and that is exactly why we're here, to tell you that the government that Cuba has is a dictatorship, and you should just say it out loud, because you just recognize the Venezuelan government as a dictatorship. So if you recognize Venezuela, you have to recognize Cuba, because there is no one without the other.
Right.
So that it was something that it was shocking to all of us, all the people that were there, the group, like the Nelson group that he represents, and the Cubanos Canadienses por una Cuba Democrática, and Cuban Liberté, which is a bunch
Cuban Liberté from Quebec.
from Quebec.
Yeah, but what we got the most from that meeting was that despite they know that Cuba is a dictatorship, that everybody's suffering, they accept a lot of refugees to Canada and all that. What we got out from that meeting is that they actually don't care. And it's really hard to say it and sad, but it's true. They don't care, and it's up to us to keep the fight going, even though they don't want to listen to us because we seem crazy people. Right. But it's really sad, really, really sad when he didn't, like Ellie said, like they didn't even listen to us. Like the first 3 sentences was they were we have many businesses down there, which is Cuba is not a rich country. Like, what businesses can you have down there? Maybe money laundering, whatever, that gets hidden from the rest of the world. And things like this.
Nickel. They have a nickel mine.
Yeah, but
actually,
really, seriously, man. Like, and Fania, one of the directives from the from Fanny Aurito, she actually stated an amazing point. She said, okay, if Cuba was free, you could actually do more businesses down there, because then you could trade directly with the Cubans, with free Cubans, and it's just unbelievable how they actually.
But perhaps sometimes what happens is that some businessmen they don't really care about free enterprise. They what they have in mind is crony capitalism, which is they have good relationship with the government, and they say as long as I have good connection, everything is going to be okay. But it turns out that doing business with the communist regime is dangerous. There was a case of a Canadian investor. I think in terms of investment, he was the second in Canada investing in Cuba. He was in Cuba for decades. I think I even saw pictures of the guy with Fidel Castro. And the guy was Armenian Canadian. It's a very rich family. The guy was in prison for 10 years. Now they put him in jail. They confiscated all the properties in Cuba, and nothing happened. The Canadian government was trying to complain, "What are you doing that to us? We are nice to you, and look at what you're doing to us."
Right. And I have a feeling, and I know that we're always talking about conspiracy theories and all these things, but unfortunately, with these two dictatorships, we do have to think about these conspiracy theories. Now, I have a feeling a lot of these, high level people in these governments, our government, the Cuban governments, have things on them, that they can use against them, because when they go to our country, that they are going out, they're gonna put them with these little girls, and they're gonna
or little boys, like
all these things, and they have, they definitely have things.
They have dirt on everyone.
They have a lot of dirt on them. So I know that they're like, there's no way I'm going to turn my back on these people, because they're going to get me. So
this is not the state. This is not a conspiracy at all. This is the real. No, because it's the reality. Unfortunately, it is the reality. And one thing that I keep saying is that Canadians, one of the reasons that I believe personally they like, or it's not that they super like it, but they don't mind looking at us in that situation, because when they go there, they feel superior. They feel way better than us. And the people that go to Cuba are not the rich Canadians. The people that go to Cuba are the super hardworking Canadians that have like no life, super miserable sometimes, and go down there in the middle of the winter, because that's where you can go in an affordable price. So I'm not saying that every Canadian that goes there is like that, but my point is, it's not the super high fancy Canadians. Those go to Bahamas. Those don't go to Cuba. They don't go to Cuba. But here, they don't feel as special. And when they go to Cuba, you know how they treat foreigners, right? It's God just came here. So they also don't want to lose that. And that's also why. So just not talking only to the government level. We're talking about an entire culture. Like everybody thinks that I don't want to get them better, because when I go there, I am better than them.
Right.
And it's pretty bad. And we actually, our job is not only getting the government to recognize that Cuba is a dictatorship and we're not crazy, is the fact that we can expose them, because there's proof out there. Like now it's COVID and everything is closed there, but when everything opens, you can just go to Capri with a camera and take pictures of a lot of Canadians with little girls, minors. And it only takes a camera or a phone and to have them there and expose them, like big pictures, like these Canadians, look what you're doing, you see? And that image of Canada, of righteousness and craziness that
It's
they
gonna
got.
crumble.
It's gonna
It's gonna crumble.
It's gonna crumble. It's the same with the free education in Cuba and free healthcare. Like, don't get sick, you know, like things like that. Same thing. So it's our job. That's our fight.
And I'm glad that at least the Cubans outside of Cuba, because I understand that the fight has to come from all over.
Yes.
And that's what the Cubans inside sometimes don't understand. Every time they say like, "Nah, yeah, but you're already outside." Yeah, okay. But because I know how it could be better, A, I'm telling you. B, it's like letting the adults know. You know, when you're trying to let the world know, it's like letting the adults know that there is something wrong there. You know, I'm trying to call upon other people that might have a little bit of more authority or, you know, responsibility and say, look down there and look at our situation. But no one cares. The bottom line, the one thing that I have understood from our latest conversation to this one is that no one cares about us. No one cares about Cubans because people are like, I don't care. They seem fine because Cubans seem fine. They seem okay. They're not fighting for their own situation.
There's
Why
no
are you
media.
fighting?
We have no made the media yet like Venezuela has. Like everybody knows that Venezuela is Cuba's fault. Everybody knows that. But Venezuela made the media. And the Venezuelans are, I mean, brave.
Yeah.
And they have less years. And they have way less years in it.
Exactly. Yeah. The difference is,
Decades.
Yeah. Well, the difference is they've only been in dictatorship for 20 years. They knew that most of that generation knew what it was to be free. A lot of our current the people that are alive today in Cuba don't know what it is to be free.
Well,
They're too old to fight back, and they're
because the situation that we have as Cubans, the situation that I understand, the way we live is even when we leave, we go outside of Cuba, they still keep us.
Yeah.
Tied somehow because of our family. They have our family captured.
They're
so
hostages.
We are all the time. We are still having to talk about them and having to do this.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
And we send money there. All of our families will starve, or we have, you know, charge them phones, like things like that, like basic things like
or
that.
Or even when you decide not to, because there are people that decide not to, and I understand and I respect that. You still have in the back of your head the fact that you could and you're not doing it.
Absolutely. We're always feeling one way or another. Absolutely. And this is our fight. And we definitely, and this is why these conversations are so important. And I love how you put democraticspaces.com, because I think we need those spaces. We need those safe spaces to have these conversations in, because people inside and outside of Cuba, you know. Go ahead.
I just remember one thing that Sebastien said, like the guy from the Foreign Affairs said. It was so funny that I almost laughed on his face. He said, like, oh, Canada is doing big efforts to fix Cuban democracy. Like we put on the chat, dude, there's no democracy to fix. You gotta create the democracy to fix it. So what are you talking about? It was so funny. And
he kept mentioning, he kept saying the government, and we were saying the dictatorship.
I know.
You know, it
was so insulting at times.
That's the problem with the bureaucracy. Everywhere, bureaucracy is the same. They self themselves. I mean, they self-serve. They are not there.
Exactly.
They are like parasites. Their job is to stay in the positions as long as possible and to keep the status quo. That's why I always prefer smaller government with limited functions that don't deal. The more Canadians get involved with Cuba, the worse it is for the Cuban people.
Look at that. So this guy saying, or girl, no, the Canadians were going down to Cuba and spending like 4 to 5 months. And I'm telling you, that's because that's the only place, a regular Canadian, that's the only place they can afford. You cannot do that in Bahamas. You cannot do that in Jamaica. Like not even Canadian money. You cannot. It's very cheap.
Yeah. I totally agree. And unfortunately, this is
yes, exactly what this person is saying. I get so upset when they are just selling all the time. Here you see above a super big, huge train with Cuba. Go travel to Cuba. Yeah, and I said, you don't say go travel to North Korea in any bus. Put that.
go travel to Venezuela. Right.
But we can find out more. I wanted to mention the democraticspaces.com, which is Michael Lima, which is an amazing Cuban that lives here in Niagara Falls, and he was the one that wrote the press release, and he's been really talking and informing Canadians about the situation, because in English, trying to bring awareness. It talks about all these other countries, not only Cuba, Venezuela, Nicaragua, and it's very, very important that we support people like them, Cubans that are serious, that they have made a name, that they have somehow make it clear wherever they are that we are of our situation. I also read recently that the Cubans in Europe as a parliament for the same thing, basically the same thing we just did.
Yeah.
And they are demanding, because the word is demanding. We're demanding to recognize that Cuba has a dictatorship.
Right. And we have to continue to do the same fight here in the US, because unfortunately, we had a president that was very hard on Cuba, and now it seems that everything that he worked so hard for is going to be crumbling down. So we need to work. We need to work hard for the next.
And as a lefty, lefty musicians, artist over here.
Yes. I love it. You have everything, and you're an artist, you're Black, you're a woman, and you're an immigrant. So everything, you have everything.
And we're married.
Yeah, that's
Oh my goodness. You girls are awesome.
But
how much victim privilege is that? It's like immigration, race, sex,
intersectionality.
Intersectionality, that 1, 2, 3, 4, like 5 things in one.
I love.
Or maybe 6 with the refugee thing, right?
Like
political,
nuclear weapon.
They do it. So unfortunately, we had to fight fire with fire, guys, and we have to shame them into doing the right thing. And over here, we'll try to basically threaten the Democrats with more of what happened in Florida, right? It's like, if you do not, at least deal with Cuba, then you will never get Florida back.
Right.
And it's a swing state.
So like I was about to say, as a lefty, I am technically also a resident of Massachusetts, and the guy from Massachusetts, the congressman, was the one that asked Biden to lift all these regulations. And I sent him an email right away as an artist, as not a Trump supporter, because I am not a Trump supporter. And I said, don't consider me a Cuban that is a Trump supporter. But what you're doing is wrong. And I have 2 questions for you. 1, do you think Cuba is a dictatorship? Yes or no? And 2, if you think so, why would you negotiate with dictators with the long history that you have in your country? That is wrong. So you have to ask the Cubans that live in your country before you do such a thing.
Right.
Yeah. So I think it's good. This is why democracy works. I could be lefty, but people on the left side are wrong sometimes. People on the right side are wrong sometimes. And that is why you need to have 2 sides or more, if possible. Because I'm in the middle.
I'm in the middle too. I have to and Richard and I have had these conversations because I'm more center and he's more to the right. And I was not a Trump fan. I did vote for Trump this time around because unfortunately I did see the socialist penetration on the Democratic side, and I've been fighting too long against socialism, and to be honest with you, socialism just has it touched me. It's touched me personally too much, and my parents gave up too much for it, and I can't let it. I couldn't go against that. I couldn't go against everything my parents did for me. I just couldn't. I couldn't let myself.
I understand.
Yeah.
I really like what
but
the Cubans in
not
Florida
because
are going to do.
Yeah, but
I think Cubans in Florida are not going to allow Biden to do much more.
And it should be.
I can't. I will not. I'm going to continue to have these hard conversations, and I think I won't give up. I don't think. I think these conversations need to be had, and I don't think. People keep telling me, no, it's impossible to talk to them. I don't think that they're all like that. I'm not going to give up. I'm going to continue to have those conversations, and I don't believe that everyone is like that. I think that there are many Democrats that are willing to come to the table and hear us out. And
Iskra, that's a good point. I was listening to Andres Albuquerque, and one of his guests, his name is Leonardo, I forget his last name, and he's a social democrat. And basically what he was saying is that like a lot of like social democrats were supposed to be for freedom and social justice, right? But freedom, they're like liberals, but with social justice, right? They have basically, made a deal with the devil to get power. So they kind of they make room for these like dictatorships, or they turn a blind eye, or they just because they want power, like like any human, basically, instead of like sticking to their principles, right? Just like this, there's the Republicans that stabbed Trump in the back or whatever, because they want to stay in office, they want power, they don't want to face the consequences of or the political danger, right? The give up the political cost that it would be to do the right thing, so that it's tough. It's an uphill battle, but we're doing it, and we're not going to stop.
I think the problem with the social democrats is that hard when you get to the core of the ideology is socialism, and they those who are really ideologues in the social democratic parties, they are hardcore socialists. They just turned into social democrats because it's the fancy word, and they used to be communist. And some people may be center left. Not everyone would be hardcore left.
I don't believe it's everyone, because like I said, I had a Facebook memory that came up 3 years ago. I was speaking at the Women's March, with thousands of women in front of me, because I believe in I'm not a feminist, but I believe in equalities for us. I think we are long from where we should be, and I think, we need. I actually want that. I want that for my children, for my daughters, and for my granddaughters when they come to this world, So I do. I want to fight for their rights. So I want to fight for black Americans, and I want to fight. We should all be equals, and be treated as such. And there should be
chances are that if you go
you know,
to a
there should
meeting,
be no discrimination because of our skin color or because we're, you know, masculine or feminine, or because of, you know, who we want to love or who we want to marry. You know, that should not be everything. Now that I'm against all that. But I don't want to, you know, I'm against socialism. That's where I draw the line.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I mean, I'm a libertarian, so I don't want to give any help to anybody, right? With my
Right.
taxes, but I'm not, I live in the real world. And I mean, somebody that's disabled, even somebody that's lost their job, or an old lady, I don't know. I mean,
Right.
you can't be too cruel, man, in life. So,
No.
I mean, if Cuba was like Sweden or Switzerland, I'm happy. Yeah, it's not my perfect American libertarian cowboy world, but my God, it
No,
would
I
be a
mean,
great
but
difference, you know?
we have a lot of social programs in the US, and
Oh,
I
yeah.
believe in them, and they're not perfect. No. Are they and that's why I think we need, you know, I think our, you know, our government and our Congress needs to come to the table and have these conversations and have and work together. They need to start working together, otherwise we're not going to get anywhere. But I'm getting off.
We need to understand that we're not ever we're not going to think alike, everybody. That's
Nope.
not the way humans work. We
Yeah.
are going to have different tastes and different perspectives, and we do need to respect each other.
And,
That is
and that's okay.
is as simple as that. This group, the Canadians, the Cubans that are here, that went to the meeting, I think we are the only ones center lefty. Everybody else is like super right. And,
But I don't mind. I mean,
this is, I can have a conversation with all of you
Exactly.
that are righties, and as long as we respect each other and we understand, like that, like you said, racism is wrong, discrimination is wrong. Like, you can be a Republican and you don't have to be racist.
No.
No, yeah, exactly. Like, it has nothing to do with that, you know? Like, I think the one thing we may have a difference in is like, okay, what are we going to use the tax money for?
Mhm.
But like, we can get to that when we have
That's
people
right.
in Cuba making money, and then you can tax them. First,
Exactly.
let's have an economy.
First, let's have a democracy.
You know?
Things first,
And
all of
this-
us, I know, with our differences and our different speeches or whatever, you know, all we have to focus for the next decade, because it's not going to
Or
take
more.
3 years, it's going to take years, like a long time. We need to focus, join forces, the right, the left, the middle, up or down. We got to get together and fix our country, because the States, it's already fixed. Canada already, well, I mean, come on, still, you know,
Right.
every
But it
country,
changes, but
no
they have the
country-
room. They have the room to change.
the constitution not to allow a person to stay in power for more than 2 mandates. You see what I
Right.
mean? It's not, there is no room for dictatorship. There is a democracy, and we need to join forces and find that Cuba that we all dream about.
I think it would be
You know?
great, because we have so many Cubans outside of Cuba that can say, you know, this is what it works in the country that I immigrated to, and this is what it doesn't work. So
Right.
we all kind of like chipping in, saying like, this is what it works in Canada. This is what really sucks about Canada, besides the weather. This is what works in Europe. This is what works in Italy. This, you know, and
Yeah.
then trying to implement those things in Cuba, that would be amazing. That's it, you know. No,
Oh,
but yeah,
absolutely.
because we
Abs-
know, and we have lived all over to actually test and say, this is good and this is not that good.
Yeah, I agree. Raidel, welcome. How are you?
Welcome, sir.
Welcome to our show.
It's
We missed you around here.
yeah, it's been some crazy times. I hope you get better soon. Hello
Thank
to the friends from Canada.
Thank you.
How are you?
Hello.
Look, you have a beard.
Hope people in Cuba live better.
I had the COVID and
US.
it stayed.
Yeah.
On something that they were saying. They
You
were
know, when
talking
it
about.
comes to Canada,
Huh?
yeah, say.
Something
No,
that
I was saying that when it comes to Canada, the problem is that I rather Canada leave Cuba alone. We don't need any help. That's the best help, because what they are doing is they are pretending they are having this human to human contact. Remember when Obama was saying that let's have this human to human contact because we had a lot of failed policies for many years that didn't work. So let's try something different. Because I
Right.
was not even born when the Cuban Revolution started. That was his argument. Like
Right.
the history started with him.
You were calling him black
So
behind his back and saying weird things because that's the Cuban way.
But I also think the Americans, they with that policy, what he wants is to turn the American people into the Canadians. The Americans that can go there,
Exactly.
of
party,
course,
do
of
whatever,
course,
Of
and
course.
nobody cares.
That's
That's what
exactly
they
of
what
want.
course.
happened. Yeah,
The more people go to Cuba, the less they know about Cuba. Because let's face it,
Exactly.
when you are a tourist, you don't care about politics. It doesn't matter where you are going. Chances are that you are not going to talk to politics to anyone on the line. You are just going to have fun. You are going to just sit on the sand, get your margarita from time to time, relax, listen music, dance. You are not going to talk about politics when you are a
Actually, if
tourist.
you
you're
So
yes, if you
relaxing.
go
the,
to Cuba right
and they
now,
know
it
it,
says,
and
okay,
they
when
know
you're
it.
there, don't talk about politics.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah, and they
That's
know
the
it.
advice to the
And
tourists.
the problem with the big sin, or the big let's say
Fiction.
disgrace that we Cubans have is that Fidel Castro had the genius to make anti-Americanism his key policy when it comes to thinking about Cuba. So he capitalized on the anti-Americanism that is felt all over the world. And people say, okay, as long as these guys are fighting against the Americans, they are my guys. We don't give a crap about what's going on in Cuba. As long as you are fighting against the big Goliath, we are with you, little guys. And that's why we have this solidarity with Cubans all over the world. Cuba is
Right.
just an excuse. Let's face it. That when you say
And
that they
Canadians,
don't, people don't care about Cuba. Nobody cares about anybody.
Nobody cares.
And
I know.
that's a problem. Let's be honest. Nobody cares about anything. But what I think would be best is that if they don't really care, because if they don't really care, they don't help the regime. That's what they're doing now. They are propping up the regime with investment, with tourism, with trade. If
Because
it
they care
wasn't
about
because of
themselves.
Canada, probably Cuba would be a free country already. Chances are that Cuba would be a free country already. 40% of tourists are Canadian. Number one investor is Canada. One of the top importers of Cuban export is Canada. So you take Canada out of the picture, and chances are that tomorrow Cuba is free.
No,
Yeah.
Hopefully.
I was just looking for some Cuba Canada news, and I came across an article. Seems to be the 50-year anniversary of the October Crisis, which
Oh,
was
62.
the kidnapping of a British official in Quebec, I believe, because in that time there seemed to be some kind of separatist movement of Front of Liberation of Quebec or whatever,
Yeah.
They always want to be free.
right?
Yeah, that was in the
You
70s, I
know,
think. That was in the
right? The
70s.
1970s, exactly, October 5, 1970, I believe,
Yeah.
and
They even killed a cabinet minister.
yeah, no, they were
And they ended up
terrorists.
in Cuba.
That's
They
not
ended up
That's
in Cuba.
right.
But they didn't
In
like
order to
Cuba, you know.
end the
They didn't
crisis,
like
the
Cuba. They stayed in Cuba for a few months or maximum a couple of years, and they left to France. And now they are
yeah,
professors
exactly,
in Quebec. All of
exactly.
them are professors.
But it's interesting that we are this Cuba is such an amazing and horrible place. These people,
Yeah,
I mean, they
it's everywhere. It's
literally
all over the place.
sheltered Canadian terrorists, And then I'm
Yeah.
reading here that Trudeau thanked the Cuban government for accepting the terrorists because
Wow.
that way they could release the
Wow.
English guy that they had kidnapped. And of course, they went on to have better relations until today. It's just
Well,
something
the relation
interesting.
came close. They were close even before, I think. They because Trudeau was, I think, Pierre Trudeau. I think he came from the NDP, which is a socialist party. So
Ah.
then he passed. He turned into a liberal later on, but he was already a
Mm.
socialist, and some people even say that he was a KGB agent, like Salvador Allende.
Right.
So it's not surprise, no, that he was an ideologue in tune with the communist ideology. So he was just grateful, no, publicly that Fidel Castro took these guys who were terrorizing Quebec. But deep inside, he was Fidel Castro's guy until he died.
Tough.
Hey, I wanted to share something with you, Riquette, and with the rest. They were saying something about Canadians going to Cuba because it is a cheap destination. Sadly, we are at risk of at least some states of America turning that way too. I shared with you on the private the Bill 2404. It was introduced in April 2020. Of course, it didn't pass. It only was introduced because under Trump and then I was majority Republican. But this time around, I'm pretty sure there are comments already that they're going to reintroduce it with some modifications. And what that bill does, although it cannot completely erase the embargo, it can facilitate some things like traveling to Cuba, like giving loans to Cuba, like increasing what they call it, what is that, the cultural exchange or
people to people and
whatever. So the universities,
people to people contact.
Universities, some of those most extreme
That's
states.
the key word.
It was introduced by Representative Bobby Rush from Illinois, Democrat.
And money laundering, guys, that you need to understand that there's a lot of money laundering in Cuba because that is tierra de nadie and no one will know what happens there. This is Las Vegas. You know why Las Vegas exists, because Cuba and Fidel, he showed up. Otherwise, they were going to do Las Vegas in Cuba. And that's the place where everything is untraceable. What happens in
Cuba stays in Cuba. Pretty much.
All these artists, like, I know that there are a bunch of artists. That's also why Odaola has so big push and impact with the artists, because he knows how much money goes to Cuba, and
the money laundering
from the artists is incredible.
Venezuela,
all those congressmen that want to pass these laws right now, they have been in Cuba and they have been partying in Cuba and they know all these situations. So this is why they want to open up, because they want to start the party again.
And all of Hollywood has been to Cuba.
Oh yeah.
All of Hollywood has been to Cuba.
And I don't care. Listen, because it's important. The other day I had this conversation with a Canadian. My point, I just don't want to say I don't want anybody in Cuba. No, I want Cubans to have the same opportunity to come here also on a vacation and spend your money and trash your city too. You know what I mean? Exactly. I want Cubans to be able to buy a ticket and say, you know what? I want to see the snow. Let me go to Canada. Yeah, so it's super hot here. I want that. That's what I want. The Cubans to have the same opportunity. Every time the Canadian tells me, "Oh my God, your old cars," I'm like, "I want a new car, just like you." They want new cars. Don't say that.
The zoo is closed then.
Right. So
for those the zoo closed.
Yeah. So for those American friends who are listening to us, who feel that these exchange that happened with Obama were good for our country, let me explain to you what happened during those exchange. During the cruises would come into Cuba for one day. The tourist buses would pick up the people and they were taken to particular places that the government assigned, of course, that were government places that they wanted those people to see. Okay. And, the money didn't go to the Cuban people. That money, your money didn't go to anybody in Cuba. It went to the Cuban government. The money from the cruises was paid to the Cuban government.
Exactly.
I mean, this is how it works.
And Cuban Americans were not allowed on those cruises.
And Cuban Americans were not allowed on those cruises. When you paid for airline tickets, the Cuban government was paid. When you stayed in hotels, all of those hotels, the Cuban government is half owner, and they're actually not a half owner. They're always at least 1% owners of those hotels. So they are always going to be making money on every single time that you go on vacation to Cuba.
But
and the people-to-people contact is debunked right there when you say that no Cubans are allowed on the cruise ship.
Exactly.
Because who better than a Cuban to establish a contact with another Cuban?
Exactly. And even if they go to a house that is not on the list of the government, let's say that you find out you're going to stay in Movimiento San Isidro's house.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. That person, whoever is in there, has to go and buy food that it's going to end up, the money is going to end up in the other hands because they own all the stores. So the reason why the situation right now in Cuba is so critical is because what they have, the situation that they want to create is to take all of the cash out of the streets.
Especially American cash.
Because they were realizing that the money was staying outside for way too long. The money can go to the store at some point, but the black market is what moves people in Cuba. But right now, they want to control that cash.
That's why they made the cards, all the theft that they do with the cards, and they get the money, they give them a number in a card. I tell you, you have some money there with our exchange, and then you give me the real currency. So it's ridiculous.
And what Maya it's just saying, they never, even because I was always wondering why you're not using all that money that you're stealing from the doctors, because you're literally just putting the doctors, exploiting them all over the world.
Yeah.
And let's say, okay, let's imagine that the super communist socialist idea of, okay, let's use these doctors to fix all of the hospitals. And we will have like top-notch hospitals with the money that they're bringing in. Let's say like, oh, they want to sacrifice for us and the doctors. Let's just, ideally, okay? That's how they come. It's your work. So you get $300, and the other, I don't know how much is, like the other $2,500 that I'm stealing from you, right, I'm going to put it towards hospitals.
Right.
That doesn't happen.
It's not even that.
It goes to a cangrejo and his yachts and and his cars and everybody.
Right.
That's what it goes. It's just insane.
Hey guys, I found something interesting about this American Chicago congressperson that wanted to lift the embargo just now.
Uh-oh. You gave him something to look up like that. You should, Riquet.
Yeah, I was reading what he shared, and it's shocking.
He visited back in 2009 Cuba.
Black Panther.
Yeah. He founded a Black Panther chapter in Chicago.
There you are.
And
Oh God.
Probably a friend of Bill Ayers and Obama when he was a student. And
yeah, he said that he went to Cuba. He liked that Raul Castro talked about religion, so he was sold just because of that.
Because he's apparently some kind of pastor.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
And then human rights were not the prime topic of conversation at Castro's place, which Rush describes as a modest ranch house. El Punto Cero is a modest ranch house. It looks like he's living in a bungalow on Carpenter Avenue in Chicago.
Oh, really?
They chatted about religion, literature, and U.S. politics.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Very good. Very good.
What is
You know,
really bothers me is that
you
the
can't make
Americans
this
should
up.
say, but honestly, the Americans right now shouldn't even talk about foreign policy anywhere.
Yeah.
They have a lot to fix. Like there's a lot of things that it needs to be fixed and talk about right now. Just leave the Cubans to the Cubans.
Exactly.
Honestly, Fidel
I
Castro
keep the phone going.
was very eager to attack Christianity, comparing the spread of Christianity to the communist revolution.
Oh, after they were persecuted and
Massive
Communism
and-
is already a
People.
bad religion. You know, we don't need anything else on top of that.
Yeah, they don't. And Che Guevara was just killing little kids, and and yet these people are putting their Che Guevara on their T-shirts, because he was a hero. How is that? How is that possible? How is this man a hero all over the world? When
No,
Or
it's
Che
because
Guevara
he
on
was
gay
watching a
parades.
picture from Corda. That's why. And the
What do you think
hippies
about
will love
that?
it.
Che Guevara on gay parades when he was incarcerating people and putting them to work in the UMAP for being
I
gays and having a long
know.
hair.
We scream at them at the gay parade here. Oh my God.
oh my god.
It's just, I wish I had a bucket of painting and then just throw it at them, because it's like, what? How would you feel if I wear Hitler on my T-shirt? Would you feel great?
in Miami, in downtown Miami, the Black Lives Matter movement, they had
Yes.
a huge flag with Che Guevara.
The Communist Party in Toronto. Like these people, when we were fighting, we are on parades towards Cuba and Cuban liberation. You got this, I don't know, this bunch of old people from the Communist Party in Toronto saying like, they have a big Che flag and talking a lot of beep. So I don't say the word. It's just,
It's like
it's
one-
ridiculous. It's just ridiculous.
You
Oh,
spent.
okay.
I'm sorry.
Hi
we
guys,
have
how are you?
Come on in. How are you? Good evening.
Good evening to all of you, and it's a pleasure to be around you guys. Ladies, thank you so much for all the work that you guys are doing. It's freaking awesome to see women like you. We met and we bonded. I follow you. I'm following you.
We've
Okay?
met. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Okay. Where have we met? Instagram?
No, we were in the protest.
Oh, the protest. I was like, okay. Got it.
No, but the thing is, with all the masks and all the things, forget it. You won't remember me for sure. We were really good at the protest, and it was really excited to see so many people. And I just wanted to say hi and just let you guys know that I'm just here behind the screen because I have the little one here that he doesn't allow me to do anything like.
We heard him.
Yeah, you know how it is. It's right.
I know.
And yeah, it's difficult. On Mondays, I'm always with him, and it's but I'll be in and out whenever I can.
We understand.
Yeah. Anyways, I just wanted to say thank you so much for everything you guys are doing. You guys, every time you need a hand, I'll be here. And there is a project coming from me that I want to. Well, you guys will see it soon, and it's gonna be here in Toronto.
Okay.
Great.
Just let us know.
Which means I will need some help, and you guys maybe can help me out. And
We can help you promote it for sure.
yeah, I already talked to Ernesto about it, and then we can all chit chat about it. Okay.
Okay.
Excellent.
Thank you so much, and keep going. Keep at it.
Thank you, Yusbel.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
It's just too bad that Toronto, we're in super lockdown
Yeah.
and we cannot do much right now.
I
Also,
know.
it's super winter. Like it's not just winter. It's like super winter.
It's really cool.
Yeah. You get snow, right?
Yeah, it's been quite a snowy winter, right, Nelson? We had like a couple of weeks of
It's not even so
kind of
cold now.
warmer.
It's not even so cold.
You've been
This
here
year
for
has
20
been
years.
very
It's not
mild.
cold today, but
Yes.
yesterday it was only -4 or something like that. It's not so bad.
Wasn't -8?
No,
Yeah,
-10?
that's nothing.
that's nothing.
That's
It was
not.
78
really.
here, Texas.
I don't care.
Yeah, today
Wow.
we were in.
This is when I get mad about Cuba. This is when I get really mad about the situation in Cuba because I would like to be in Cuba right now.
Yes, I know.
What if Cuba was like you said, Switzerland kind of thing, okay? That kind of
Why am I here like with this cold, this crazy people who don't understand me? I will be in my Santiago, Cuba, in front of my beach, having fun with my Casa de la Trova, with my music, and not dealing with a lot of people here, slow-minded people.
I know.
This is just upsetting.
I agree.
No
I
freedom,
agree.
no country.
That's right.
Let me ask them something really quick. Maybe they talked about it. What do the people in Canada, the regular people, not the ones that go, for $300 a flight, but the regular people, what they say about Cuba, what they say about the U.S., where they fall?
Okay, they have no idea. First of all, like Nelson was mentioning, because when they go to Cuba as a tourist, I've been in Dominican Republic in the hotel. I haven't stepped a single foot out of the hotel because I want to enjoy myself and not go anywhere. So when you go on a tourist trip, you don't ask about politics. You don't care about any of those things. So you don't know. So the norm is that they don't know. But what they know, because the governments are too close to each other, is like, oh, Cuba's nice, the free healthcare, the same stupid mind thingy that it is all lies, and every time we have a concert we just explode the bubbles when we say no, it's not nice. Otherwise I wouldn't be here.
And it's the Americans' fault.
And it's the Americans' fault.
Everything is the Americans' fault.
Yes, of course it is.
They have a serious love-hate relationship with the US. They hate them, but at the same time imitate absolutely everything.
Yeah. So do the French, by the way. Okay.
And if you say it out loud, like we're saying right now, if they're Canadian friends right now looking at us and getting mad at us, I'm sorry, guys, that's the truth. You hate them, but you love them. I'm sorry. It is
all resentment.
Yeah, it's yeah.
Weird. It is weird.
It's too close a culture. I mean, there is basically no real difference between
both British
an American
former
and a Canadian when it comes to culture. It's the same origin, same Anglo-Saxon culture, except for Quebec.
I mean, that's where.
So
that's
the problem. It's too similar, and they don't like it. It's an identity
and
problem.
they don't like that it's similar, and they pretend that it's not that similar. I'm like, guess what? And I have told this to many of my Canadian friends, and they know it. And if you're not my friend and you're Canadian, I'm sorry, but this is the truth. I prefer to deal with an American, because if that American, let's say, that is upset, whatever, and racist and bad person, it will tell me in my face right away. And I know how to deal with that American. But with Canadians, you don't know what they're thinking. You have no idea, and everything seems fine, and it's not sometimes.
They say, "Oh, it's okay, don't worry," and then they backstab you. They're backstabbers. It's like
too polite.
Yeah, well, so we have the same thing with the French, right? I mean, it's like, oh yeah, no. And then,
remember, now that you said that, it's funny. People in America forget sometimes that the French actually help us in the independence war. If it wasn't for the French, Lafayette, we would have lost.
Yes.
But
they hate us.
That's right.
In the Gulf War, because France at first said, no, we're not going with you in this madness. Remember all the jokes about the French fries? You couldn't call it French fries
The French
anymore.
Potato.
You have to call them freedom
the
fries.
French fries became the freedom fries. Yeah.
Remember that? I'd rather deal with the French.
I remember that. Yeah.
I remember that. I will side with the French in this matter.
Well,
It's the same problem in Quebec.
that's America's
it's the same
fault.
cultural clash. The same cultural clash in Quebec, and when you go, unfortunately, to the federal government, which is where the foreign policy is instrumented, then in order to work in the federal government, you need to speak French. You need to be bilingual. So who is bilingual in Canada? Quebec, the Quebecois. Because the chances are that if you are not living in Quebec, you don't speak French. So then you go there, and most people working for the federal government, most diplomats, more people that had to do with Cuba, even you see that they have French last names. And Quebec is a socialist province. So we are in a really bad shape here, because we had to deal with socialists in the federal government that have a real cultural problem with the Anglo-Saxon part of Canada. And you can see here in Canada the difference between the West and the East. The people in Alberta, they are different. They understand freedom.
Right. It's a huge country, but it's a huge country, and places should change. If people are different in Cuba and we're a small island, imagine here. It is a very big place, and you cannot pretend that everybody thinks the same. And the people in Alberta, they just want money.
Hello, how are you?
Oh, my bad. Hey there, how you doing? My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Nice to meet you. How are you?
I'm doing great, thanks. How about yourself? How you feeling? Are you feeling better?
I am feeling better. I'm coming along. It's been a long recuperation. I
knew from Eliezer's.
The reason why everybody's asking me how I'm feeling is because I had surgery on November 30th. Unfortunately, from the surgery, I had an infection.
Actually, I know from Eliezer's live.
Yeah,
live. So I'm glad you're feeling better.
It's coming along.
I really appreciate the job you're doing from Somos Más and all the movement.
Thank you.
Guys.
I can't give up on this. This is, my mother says, mija, ¿cuándo tú vas a dejar de trabajar? Like, Mom, the day I die, probably, I will stop working. Or the day that Cuba becomes free. I mean, it's either one.
Love the spirit.
Exactly.
I'm glad I can keep on the stream if you can keep talking, so I can get it. So I have no idea what you guys are talking about, but always from Cuban freedom and liberty, and that's what we all stand for.
So these ladies from Ocan, they have a new a new project. Yeah, a new project, and they went to the Canadian government with it. But of course, unfortunately, the Canadian government was not very condescending on it. They turned. There's so much
polarization.
There's so much at stake.
You got both sides. I have felt the experience because I used to work in hospitality in Cuba and hotels and that kind of stuff. And I get to see all the Canadian tourists pretty often, and it's the same shit they were saying. They just come there for tourism, and if they don't get too much into politics. Actually, I have a very nice story. I helped a girl that right now she's a great friend of mine, and they were a couple of tourists, and they were to Havana, to Hemingway Marine. I used to work over there, and they the father of one of the girls, he was studying on the Soviet Union, and he was exposed. He was exposed of the project of the studies because of the political opinions and all that kind of stuff. And that way, he fled to Canada. He was born over there, and he had no contact with the rest of his family. And so the girls comes to Cuba, let's say 25 years later, trying to find the family that the guys has left behind. Because he was never allowed to come back. And so I was working at Havana, and I told him one day, I got vacations. I'm going to take 15 days. We're going to split the charges, all our expenses, and we're going to drove all the way to Guantanamo. That's where the guy was from. Yeah. And then when knocking doors with the last address they have. You know, people in Cuba, people used to move a lot, and when they
Yeah.
move, you can knock the door of the old house and ask
Right.
the new neighbor where the new guy lives. Yeah, and I finally got the new home and get that girl to meet her grandparents, and it was
Oh,
amazing. I got the family together, and all of that because of the freaking political opinion. You
right.
are not allowed to dissent in a system that won't let you
Yeah.
constitutionally. They're allowed to constitutionally block you from your thoughts, and that's just cruel. And every one of us has a different story to show that up, but in the very core of the thing, the essence of the idea is the same, that you cannot dissent, you cannot have a different political opinion. I felt so happy for that, you know, getting the family together. And
I'm sure you
when I
did.
finally did it, I said, wow, what's this for?
Yeah.
Why? Only because of political opinion.
Yeah.
It has some changes. We, the youngest people in the country, we deserve better. We can, you know, make our own future, and it's up to us. And more for the
Wait,
Cuban people that
there
we.
are young people left in Cuba?
Oh yeah, of course. There are a lot of young people, man. Yeah, that's a problem. Even though the population is mostly old, that's bad thing we got against us, because they're the ones that are, you know, they're the ones that usually go with the flow with all the revolution and all the kind of BS that we don't take anymore.
Right.
But the young people of Cuba need to wake up and
Yeah.
look at a bright future and get together, you know, and make themselves their own future.
Now that
And
you,
that
now that you
and
said that,
that's when it gets kind of hard, because sometimes when I look at the videos of the youth, I'm like, either I'm getting really old, or this is just not going to a good place right now. but
But
but there are always people, like we had, we had that Movimiento San Isidro, and the people from Monpacu, and the people from like Asociación Democrática, no, Civil, el Asociación Civil, and Damas de Blanco, and we have
that's if I may
as long
interrupt you
as
over
there
there,
is one person, that believes that
it is.
we
It
have
is.
to
But
keep
if
fighting,
I
we have
may
to keep
interrupt
fighting.
you there, we got all of them, and they're all bright people. They're so good. They've been so brave, but we cannot count on them. We need the real people of the population. They all are marked
That's right.
by the state security. You know, there's a system working on that with all the benefits and all the welfares that the people don't get goes to that, to monitorizing the people, and don't let them get together, don't let them gather, and you know, don't let them make groups. So we need to count on this, on passing the word and making the people of Cuba understand, and not just rely on the leaders, because the leaders, sadly, in my opinion, they are marked. They cannot do anything. You know, they're 24/7 monitorized, and they cannot move. If they got together and the 10 minutes after, they got split and
Right.
separated, and that's sad. But still, we
But
got
the
it.
fight nowadays is in the media.
We're
All
talking about a country that we have a president.
get
This
out
place,
and expose it.
limited, is the foundation of everything. Can you believe that?
Good one.
Can you believe
Yeah.
that, bro? It's
I
like,
think you and Riquet touch a point that I think we need to expand more. I don't think no one has the real numbers of how many Cubans are outside Cuba. I'll put you an example. My class was from primary school. You know, in Cuba, you stay together from first grade until ninth grade.
Mhm.
Well, of that group, we tracked them in Facebook. It was about 35 of us in that class. 21 we are outside, between Spain. There's people in Denmark. There's one in Australia. There's a bunch in the US. 75% of that class is, if that represents, you know, if that is a slice of that generation, I was born in the 80s, but I mean, I think 70, 80, and early 90s, most of the young people left one way or another.
Yep.
there is no future in Cuba. They don't have a future because they broke. There is too many people that only have two options: or I leave, or I go with the system and I try to, get something out of it. But there is really not a. There is a huge gap.
It is.
Yes.
But that's our work.
All they can do there is
understand.
to expose everything that happens to them there, because I'm telling you, this is the fight now, the media. And I know it's hard and everybody's afraid there, but if we make the media and we make it global, and we have to quemarlos, like we say, we gotta burn it. We gotta expose every single thing, all the lines for food, the fake news of COVID, everything, beating up people that dissent with them, like every single thing counts. Every single thing matters.
We're doing great.
People are losing their families. We need more.
We are. Actually, if you look, we have the worst is yet to come. We have a bright future because we're looking at 40 something manifestations, protests in Cuba. We have never seen anything like that.
Exactly.
And we have
never even
which is great. We can look at the bright side, or either don't look at it, but still we have it. We need so much more, but we're doing great, actually, that. And our job here is each one of us, to pass the word to all of our friends, of our family.
In every country that we live, and like into our families in Cuba. Like, this is what I said. I said the last time I was here. When a family members or a friend ask you for a recarga, you don't have to get mad. You say, okay, I'll give you a recarga if you share this video of Damas de Blanco, and I'll send you a recarga. Or a recarga, and
when I see it,
I'll send it to you. So let's do, because that's the way. That's a deal. Let's make a deal.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Do you want to come here? Do you want a visa to come here visit me? Okay.
Oh man,
I want to see you sharing the.
For a visa, you need you need a protest in front of
but this is something.
Liberty Plaza.
Because the older generations don't. I mean, they're afraid. My mom is afraid. My mom's nurse. They're still working. But at least if we get them to share the videos, somebody else will see it, and this is how we get the attention. If they, instead of sending corazoncitos and cadenitas,
they love sending those.
Exactly.
I don't like it now, but please don't.
I'm gonna intersect.
I kind of hate him.
Okay, I'm gonna intersect. I see that Nelson is having some technical issues, and I don't want to lose him again without asking him, Nelson, how can we help your program? How can everyone on the chat that's listening to us help you get this, help you in any way that we can? Well, I lost him again.
There you go.
Oh no!
He's having trouble.
He's having some technical issues. I don't know.
And it's for the internet.
Yeah.
And what is what we need to do for Mr. Lenson?
Yeah, exactly. That's the information I was trying to get from him. I think he's, there he is.
Yep, you're up.
Okay. Yeah, there you go. So I was asking you, how can we help?
That was the question?
Yes.
How can you, right?
How can we all help you push this through? Well, and I know.
I think the best way to help would be to address the Canadian government directly on a public fashion, not behind closed doors.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Maybe he can write it for the private chat.
Okay, so maybe you girls have some sort of scenario of what he was trying to say.
I think what I was just going to say is that I think as Cubans outside of Cuba, we should unite the same way we're doing right now, trying to reach out to as many people in their own countries. Let's say if you can reach out to people in Europe that are doing the same thing, try to follow those pages. Try to follow the pages that are people that are generally trying to make something and bring awareness in their own language, wherever they're living right now. So I think the Cuban exiles should support each other, because this is the one time that we have been doing it right. This is the first time that we're like, okay, this is enough. We're way too many outside right now, and we need to understand how strong we are and how many we are outside. If we understand that concept, we would understand how powerful we can be.
But you just have to walk the streets. I don't know in Canada. Excuse me if I may interrupt. I don't know in Canada. There's not much of a Latin culture. But if you walk the streets here in South Florida, you will see the spirits in the people's hearts. Everybody talks about it. You know, back in, like, let's say on the 2010 or something, nobody will give a damn about it. But nobody will talk about politics, and they don't even care about Cuba. You will talk to anybody. I mean, my father is a political prisoner. He was in jail for 9 years, in between, in and out. And he always, in my place, you always, not here, this is my house, but in his house, you always hear that kind of political conversation. But back in 2010, let's say, nobody will talk about it. And we're doing it now. I mean, it's 10 years. It's a lot of time. But now we got all these spirits on the people's minds. And everybody's talking. Listen, here in South Florida, where there's a Cuban, there's,
South Florida, yeah, you're not. Unfortunately, South Florida is a different world. You know, when you leave Miami and you go up a little farther, just go up into Jacksonville. It's completely different.
I live in Jacksonville.
It's completely
but I'm talking
different,
about South Florida. I live here in Jacksonville. I live in Middleburg.
Yeah, unfortunately, once you leave South Florida, to be honest with you, nobody knows or cares what happens in Cuba.
Yep.
I'll be honest. You know,
That's true.
We are this.
Tiny thing.
Well, you know, that's not 100% correct. They want to visit before it changes. That's what they want to do.
Yeah, we are the very, very, very small minorities in our little states.
I can see depends on who you talk to. I totally agree with you, but I've been to 28 countries. I used to work on a cruise ship, and every spot I left, even in North Pole, every time that I see anybody, hey, how do you do in Cuba? Is it good over there? Rum, tobacco? No, there's no rum, no tobacco. That's for the tourists.
I agree.
We don't got no rum. I have cigars here in my place, and I import them from Cuba. But I was never able to smoke a cigar in Cuba.
That's the number one question they always ask. That's the number one question.
Okay, let's see. Let's hear from Nelson. I'm sorry, Nelson. Go ahead. I'm so sorry. I keep losing you. I don't know what's happening.
I think it's my telephone.
Take off the camera, Nelson. Only do the audio.
Maybe you can do. Yeah, maybe you can do take off the camera.
Most people have tendency. Do you listen? Do you hear?
Yeah.
Okay, let me pump up your audio.
I was saying that most people have the tendency to follow American politics. But
okay, I'm sorry, Nelson. I'm gonna. You're coming in and out. You're finishing up. Maybe you need to take off your camera. Take out your camera and leave only your audio so we can actually hear you.
Do you hear now?
It's a little better. Yes, go ahead.
Okay, I'll try to restart.
Okay.
You don't hear?
We hear you.
Okay. I think there's a big delay. Well, I was saying that pay attention to what's going on in Canada. Canada is a key country. It's probably even more important in terms of survival for the Cuban regime than the United States because of the economic ties and the political ties. So pay attention to what's going on in Canada. And if the Cuban members of the opposition want to do something, I think they should address the Canadian government because they have a big responsibility of what's going on in Cuba right now.
Okay. We will continue to push on our side, and just so everybody is aware, Somos Más really works across the world with all organizations. We have no boundaries. I mean, you've seen us, and that's, I think, why we've grown so much. We like to work with everyone. In the objective is of freedom for our country. It does not matter, what organization you're working with, or who, or what who you're working for. But what we want is freedom for our country, and we will help in any way we can. So definitely, we will continue to help you in any way we can from our end. So absolutely. If you guys have any references that you want us, any movements that you're going to be doing, any, walks or any, whatever you're going to be doing, please send us any information and we will post it on all of our social medias. We will do push whatever we need to on our end.
Excellent. Okay, guys, thank you so much for having us. We're gonna head out.
I know.
It's a long day teaching for us, and it's been like hours of screen time. But I am so happy and glad to find Cubans that are willing to step out of their commodities to bring awareness about our situation and the situation of our families and people in Cuba. I think that we have to keep going, like you just said, pushing and supporting each other and respecting each other, because Cubans need to learn tons about democracy, about respect. That I see all the time when someone is posting things on social media and, like whatever. If you have a friend that doesn't exactly share your values or your opinions, either just keep scrolling or unfollow them or send them a message directly. But
right.
People starting fights on social media about things that you're like, really, like, I understand if you're going to make your point across respectfully, that's totally fine. But if you just jump into conclusions, right, a lot of people are like, oh, you're just because you support Trump, you're racist or whatever. I'm just putting that example for whatever reason.
Exactly.
But it's not always like that. We need to understand where people come from, like why they are sharing those values or why they're supporting that person, whatever. But just try to respect each other, because we are already being tortured. We have been tortured for so long by other people. Why are we keep treating each other so badly?
We do that to each other. We're no better than the dead guy who actually was the one who taught us to be this way and hate whoever didn't think like us. So who is not with me is against me. So we need to get rid of that kind of thinking.
That kind of
is more healthy. Unlearn.
Not anymore.
Military regime that we don't need. We don't need that in our psyche. So yeah,
I cannot agree more, ladies. Actually, I actually have a perfect example. I had a lawyer. She's a friend. She's a wonderful friend, and I love her dearly. And she posted on my account, and she made a very anti-Trump comment, and against me personally. And I said to her, you don't know, our backgrounds shape, who we are. And, I respect who you are and what you are going to vote for, and I respect that. But we each have to respect each other, and we can't push each other's boundaries. There's got to be, and we need to have these conversations, but in a respectful way. I cannot agree more. I thank you for bringing that up, because especially the younger generations, especially, social media has become, I think, a place where we bully each other, and that cannot.
Because you're not looking at that person's face the day that you have the guts to actually say those things. So this is what I tell to people sometimes, because I am the kind of person that says very, very like harsh things, but I'm capable of saying those things to people's faces. So I know that I can make a comment and make you a call, a phone call, a video call, personal, and tell you, like I am that kind of person. But I know that not everybody is like that, and they make those comments because they are not in front of you. Yeah. And I'm like, just think about, before you comment, think about if you would actually tell that to that person in front of them.
Right.
And then you will see that your answer will change drastically most of the time.
Yeah, and again, it's about fixing Cuba. It's about getting a free Cuba, Cuba Libre. That's what we all want. And at the end, it doesn't matter which side of history we are from. It's just, it's a matter of fixing our thing.
We need to make a plus.
How do we deal with democracy? Exactly. We'll deal with that, but we need to deal with those guys first who had, we call it gorilla glue on their chairs, because they want to lose that chair of power. It's like they glue themselves to those chairs.
Get out.
And it's awful that they don't want to lose power, and it's crazy. I know they own the country and people.
And before we leave, a little bit of promotion. We're like, come on.
There we go. Commercial.
Talking here for like an hour and a half for nothing. Follow our music. We our website is down there. Like, let's just put it in there. Our website is okamusica.com. Follow our music, listen to our music, watch our videos on YouTube. It's
if you like it.
Our second album just came out, and we have a vinyl out. I don't know what it is, but we have vinyl out. And
I get it.
And you can buy them online at the world.
Oh my god, I got new music.
We couldn't hear you.
Your wife took the microphone.
Oh, I'm here. Sorry. Oh, okay. Say.
Things that happen in life.
It's time to invest in old-time technology.
No, I know. Well,
get a splitter. You can do one that connects to.
Because we didn't hear anything you said.
Oh, sorry. We do have a splitter. But I didn't put it here. Anyways, like I was saying, that if you buy our vinyls, the money comes straight into our bank account.
Nice.
And,
do you do shipping?
Yes, they do shipping. So you can buy it online, lulaworldrecords.ca, which is our record company.
Like, how would I get like a record player? I don't have one of those anymore.
On Amazon, $50. Like, come on. Everything is 50 Canadian, so it's nothing.
It is really cheap. It is really cheap to get it done right now.
Really?
Yeah.
You can hook it up to your.
See, now you make me think about getting one of those, because that's
we just look pretty there, so just
it looks pretty.
That's awesome. That is awesome, ladies. Now you're gonna get me to get a record player
and you can get records and support artists. And I cannot wait for us to go, guys, to the States and
cannot wait to meet girls in person.
Believe me.
I know. I can't wait for all of this to be over and
yes,
the world to be vaccinated and we can get back to our regular lives.
Hey, before you leave, I have two questions for you guys.
Angel, how are you?
Doing well. How are you, Elizabeth?
I'm good. I'm good.
Miss Magdalis, how are you tonight?
I did. Thank you very much.
So you said you're coming up with a second record?
Yeah.
That's the second record, which is Espiral. The first one was Sombras.
Gotcha.
I haven't heard Sombras. What's going on?
I'm talking Rica 1934. Good night.
All right, man.
How are you? How are you, sir? It's such a pleasure.
I want to hear Sombras.
No, me neither. I haven't. I'm gonna search for it. It's not on Ocam Vivo on YouTube.
No, it doesn't have it. No, Ocam Vivo is like the Vivo channel that they made us create that for that video. But our channel is another one. It's Ocam Música, and if you go to our website, you can find like everything else there.
Oh, yeah, you go to Spotify,
listen,
Apple Music, and
I'm on Ocam Vivo right now. I was actually dancing before to Cuba. And that's the question.
Great.
That's the question. How long did you rehearse for that syncope at the beginning of that song that is so hard to listen to? The Cuba, whatever you do.
No, that is from La Lupe. Ese es de La Lupe.
Yeah, but she used to do it slow.
Very slow.
It was a boogaloo from back in the day, and it was a long lost
song. You guys, I don't know how.
But we just do it super fast.
And your pizzicatos on your violin is amazing. Now,
that's you.
Oh, paying attention to the pizzicato. Okay.
Yeah, it's really.
This is technical now. He's getting serious.
It's really
okay.
I like music. So what I wanted to say about Canada and helping Mr. Nelson and you guys, I have written a couple of letters to the European Union, asking for attention with the case of Luis Robles and Denis Solis. And I posted that on my Facebook page, and I shared it to many websites, including Cuban libertarian groups in Facebook. I also wrote a similar letter. I just changed a few words to the High Commissioner of Human Rights in the European Union with the same thing, and a couple of Euro senators or whatever that representative, Eurodiputados. The initials is MDB, whatever it is. So if you guys write something to the Canadian government, there is a noise. Cricket, please. If you write like a letter to the Canadian, because I don't know how to do it, I don't know the access, the links, etc., and then you share it to your Facebook pages or whoever you think is like Ricket or Iskra, I can get on it. And let me tell you, people from Europe they have messaged me saying that they already wrote the letter to the European Union, because as a citizens, the European Union is supposed to, they are obligated actually to answer to them in 3 days. So the more, now I'm not saying again that this is going to produce the effects or the results that we would expect, but at least we create a state of opinion and we create a buzz around the situation in Cuba. And if we do it in America, I already wrote a letter to the president, to the new president, to my senators. I actually proposed a San Isidro movement for the Nobel Peace Prize. I'm always writing letters. And then what I do is I share it on Facebook. I share the link and the text so people can copy paste, because nobody has time for that, right? So if you do the same with the Canadian government, I can do the same. And in most, I can say I'm Angel Tour and I live in Thornhill, Ontario, where my sister lives, whatever, and then I can share it with my sister and say, hey, copy link, send it, and all that buzz, guys. Societies have changed and people have been saved based on that international, state of opinion and aura that is created when multiple people from multiple countries are asking for the same things. So if you can do that and share it with us, so we can participate also in the Canadian government. The Canadian government is vital in the pressure that we can exert over Cuba, because of all the things that we already know and you have mentioned, tourism, etc. So that would be great. And I love it.
I found it, and this is great. You can, the one page that we follow here is the Cubans, Cubano por una Cuba democrática.
Esos son los chicos de Uruguay, ¿no?
No.
Cubanos
Canadienses Cubanos Canadienses por una Cuba Democrática.
Oh, okay.
Those are the serious one here that I'm in Toronto, you know, like the Ernesto. Is yeah. And
there is a foundation of national, I can't remember the whole name, but remember the guy that talked to us in the protest, he's been here the longest. He was the first Cuban comedian. Yeah,
and the guys in Montreal, it's super active.
Super active in Montreal.
Super.
Yeah, Montreal is a key right now. It's a key, but Toronto is getting there. I just wanted to say, girls, I just know that there are a lot of people, more than we thought, that they are online all the time. They are giving the fight and they keep people in line, which is great. It is great. When I saw all my friends taking over, I was like, I was gonna talk, but I guess I don't have to. Like, all of you are on sync, you know, and then that's what we need. And the other thing I wanted to say, we need to keep working with Twitter to Justin Trudeau, straight to Justin Trudeau, everything.
Exactly.
Every single day, he's getting at least 20 tweets from me, just from me.
Exactly.
Every single day.
I write to him too. I'm Mendicino about the all the craziness here and excuses, the COVID excuses that they have to stop citizenship ceremonies and everything. Just they get a lot of quemadera from us.
Yeah, but don't worry, we're gonna keep sharing and stay. Como dicen en San Isidro, estamos conectados. You have to stay connected.
Bye, I hope you keep feeling
Great job,
better.
girls.
Thank you, ladies. Thank you for coming by again, and it was a pleasure as always. Love you much.
Anytime.
Bye, beautiful.
Nice to meet you, Angel.
Nice to meet you, Rayo. You as well. Keep it up.
Yeah, thank you. You too. You too. More than me.
Raidel, thank you for coming by. As
you can
always.
find the album on Amazon Music.
Yes.
And Sombras if you want. I'm sure it's everywhere.
Please buy their album. These ladies need our support. We need to support young Cuban Americans wherever they are, and you know, I mean, they're awesome. Their music is awesome, regardless. I mean, honestly, yeah, it is awesome, and I'm definitely gonna get that album. But I have to buy a record player.
All right.
Well, yeah, it was a pleasure. You didn't do much talking tonight. Are you tired?
That's all right. It's all good. I like to be in the background sometimes.
I know. But then I see you in all these other channels and you're like, talk. You leave all the talking here to me, and then I see you.
Yeah, well, you know, eventually, you know, you're gonna have to take over.
Really?
I'm getting on in years, yeah.
No, this is gonna be your channel. I'm giving it to you.
I'll stay on.
There you go.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, sir, it was a pleasure. It was a pleasure having everyone on. Thank you for listening to us. Please join us next time, every Monday, 9 to 11. We'll be here next Monday. Thank you, everybody. Have a great night.
Bye-bye.